And now it's midnight. How's this happen?
That's really good. And we have, organized this ASBM CEO Meet 23. And Adithya, we are from Adithya School of Business Management, Coimbatore in India, south part of India. You might be knowing it. I'm not sure how good are you in the Indian geography, but anyway, just wanted to give you some insights. And we are conducting MBA program for the undergraduate students. They are freshers, and we want them to get experience and exposure from people like you who are from corporate. And we are keeping the tagline, experience the corporate life. In order to make them ready for the corporate world. It's not like US, people study MBA after their like 5 years, 10 years jobs, but here they study after their undergraduation, after their schoolings and undergraduation, straight away they go to post-graduation, MBA kind of programs. They don't go to corporates immediately and they go to studies, all they complete, then they go to corporate. Gotcha. And it may be different and, from United States, and I know the culture you live with and the education system in abroad, and here is little different. And that's the reason to minimize the gap. And we wanted to have these kind of sessions from people from India as well as from abroad to share their experience. And sometimes we even take them towards, learning from the implant itself. And you are such a person from the finance background. I have gone through a little about your profile, finance background. That's really good to have, kind of how to do the costing, cost center and profit center, and kind of, some exposure our students will get to know from you, I guess. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Nice knowing you, Chris, and great connecting with you. I'll try to get in touch with you in future as well. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and sharing your experience with our students today. And I'm really, really grateful to you. On behalf of our management and our institution, I would like to register my gratitude to you, sincere gratitude to you.
Thank you so much, man. I'm deeply honored and appreciative of this opportunity, and looking forward to give back anything I can to help and support.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Yeah. So maybe our students can do a little introduction about you and official welcome. Then you can start giving your self-introduction further, what you wanted to share. Then we can go on like on our few questions by our students. Then that's the way we can take it forward. Is that okay for you?
Perfect, man. Sounds good.
Thank you so much. Then let's start with welcome by Mohideen. Yeah.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to ASBM Lead Talks inaugural ASBM CEO Meet 2023, organized by Adithya School of Business Management. This is an auspicious day, and I feel enlightened to extend my warm welcome to everyone. I quietly welcome our chairman, E.C. Sukumaran sir, our managing trustee, Praveen Kumar sir, and our corporate gentleman, director and head of Dr. N. Sundara Pandian sir, and our eminent guest, Mr. Chris Ortega. Before we begin, joining with us today is a man of easy going and simplicity, Mr. Chris Ortega. Let me sum up with our CEO, Lawrence. Ms. Chris Ortega is a fractional CFO, a finance influencer, entrepreneur, a strategic advisor, servant business partner and distributor, and finance related things. We are really happy to have you, sir. And thanks for sharing your time with us. Without much delay, I request our members of ASBM who strive for this constant learning to start this section.
All right, Mr. Chris, you can start with your background and what you wanted to share to these young budding leaders of tomorrow. Maybe we can start with that. We can take it as an inspiration from you. Then we can have our discussions further.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for again, thank you everybody. I appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, so tell a little bit about myself. So I'm born and raised here in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's the Midwest of the United States. I come from very humble backgrounds. For me, I grew up in a single parent background with me, my mom, and my sister. My family, there really wasn't a lot of people going to college. My sister was actually the first person to go to college. I was the second. So coming from a very humble background, started my schooling off at Indiana University. Went there, did my got an honors degree in accounting and finance. And then afterwards began my career in public accounting at Ernst & Young. Tremendous opportunity to work with a lot of different Fortune 1000 companies here in Indianapolis in the audit practice. Did that for a couple years, really loved that experience, but quickly realized like I really love like being actually in the business. So I started my first entrepreneur technology company in accounting. I was the accounting manager there. Did that for a couple years as well. Went through a lot of different fundraising rounds, helped build a business. Super cool concept here in Indianapolis. And then I really understood that I love the finance side of my degree, right? I love that partnership. I love that strategic thinking. I love that forward thinking aspect. So I went to school full time. I was getting my MBA. So I was getting my MBA full time as well as working at a high growth pharma drug development company called Covance. While I was there, I started off in FP&A, started off as a junior financial analyst, built my way up all the way to a senior financial analyst. And I was leading all of our central laboratory locations, which were in Indianapolis, Geneva, Shanghai, Singapore, and Tokyo. We were probably about a $300 million revenue business. But then I love like the aspect of working at small to medium-sized businesses. So for the next 10 to 12 years, I basically came in at a lot of different software companies, built them up from scratch. So typically I was brought in as the first finance hire and built out the entire functions. Most recently, I was working at an international marketing development company called Emarsis. I was VP of finance there, leading our entire accounting, finance, FP&A operations. Luckily was able to be part of an acquisition with SAP. So monumental in helping the acquisition with SAP. I stayed over a year after the acquisition to kind of help with the post-merger integration of our organization with SAP. And then I found myself at this fork in the road. I said, you know what? I know what it takes to build and shape a finance organization. I've been there. I've done that. I know the good, the bad, the ugly. And also I felt like there needed to be a fresh perspective brought to finance. So a little over a year ago, I started my own fractional CFO and advisory business called Fresh FP&A. And basically what we do is we provide fractional CFO and advisory services to high growth businesses. I have myself, I have two other fractional CFOs that are helping me build Americas. I have another fractional CFO based in London, and I have another fractional CFO that is leading our APAC operations in Australia. So we're an international fractional CFO and advisory service company. We primarily focus on SaaS, technology, retail, e-commerce, renewables, and pharma companies are the organizations we work with. And we basically help organizations transform and scale their finance organizations. So, and also another unique fact about myself, I used to be an amateur boxer. So I used to fight as an amateur boxer. I have 46 amateur fights. My record is 42-4.
Wow.
And that's been an amazing experience. So
That's
yeah, that's a little
really
bit about
wonderful.
me and my
That's
background.
really wonderful. That's really wonderful, Chris. Good knowing you. You're an all-rounder, basically.
Yeah.
So when you say about SAP, I was actually over there as an SAP consultant in US.
Nice.
I was working for some companies' clients, actually. Yeah.
That's awesome.
In the business consultancy, business side, actually, functional modules, finance and controlling kind of, and sales and distribution, and a few more we can, I was just working.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good knowing you again. Yeah. We are coming some extent. I have the similarity into your career, basically, but you have the vast experience with a humble startup, and you have grown like with the multinational corporations, working with the European continent and so on. And also you are into the fitness boxer. Wow, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. Fitness keeps me sane, man. If I didn't have the opportunity to work out, I'll be a crazy person, man.
That's really good. Yeah. So let's have some interactions. Let our students ask some questions. Yeah. In between, we'll pop in and we can have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Greetings to you, sir. Am I audible,
How are you?
sir?
Yeah, I
Yes,
can
yes,
hear you.
yes.
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
Awesome. Awesome.
Proceed with your question, please.
CEO you would like to take, sir?
Can you
I'm
repeat
sorry.
again?
Yeah,
Can
can
you
you
repeat
repeat it?
again?
I didn't catch it.
Sure, sir. What are the most difficult decision for a CEO to make, sir?
Okay. So the question was, what is the most critical decision to make as a CEO, right?
Yeah,
So
yes.
in leading Fresh FP&A, I think one of the most important decisions I always have to think about is scale, right? When you're building a business and you're leading the business, I'm leading a team of people, resources, partners, right? I'm always thinking about how I'm scaling the business. So that's always a critical decision, because sometimes what you can balance is in that short-term decision-making process, you could have a band-aid when you really need to take the time to think about how you need to scale a process or scale an initiative. So to me, I think one of the most important decisions I make as a CEO of Fresh FP&A is thinking about scale, whether it's scaling my people resources, where it's scaling like my time, whether it's scaling a company's business, whether it's scaling a market. Always thinking about, what am I doing today and how can I replicate and scale that if I was able to do this, by 10 more amount of customers or 10 more people working in the organization. So I think that's always a critical decision to make, is thinking about scale as a CEO.
So basically, it's to analyze and take appropriate decisions. That's what you mean, right?
Yeah. I mean, and making
Got it.
those decisions about, like, not just the short term, right? You've got to be thinking about, okay, is this process, is this workflow, is this initiative, if I was able to do this for 10x the amount of customers, right? Is this scalable? Like, does this process work? Does it break? Does this initiative work? So not only just thinking about the short term, but how that decision that you're making is going to impact the future as well, too.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about scale. Yep.
Thinking about your strategy in front, your vision and mission, and people on side, resources the other side, yeah, and competitors, the environment again, business environment, internal and external, all together. As you have to drive as a leader of your company, you are the driving force. You got to consider everything in first place to make any decisions you wanted to take.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Next question, please.
Yes.
Hi, sir. Greetings to you.
Hey.
So my question is, how do you approach the strategic workforce planning?
Okay, so I think the question was, how do I operate the strategy around workforce planning?
Yeah. Bringing towards your operations, strategy to operations. Yes.
Yeah. So I think one of the most important things about, like, I look at it very simply, right? As you have the vision that drives the strategies go into the tactics go into the milestones you want to achieve, and then the milestones go into the metrics, and then the metrics go into the execution plan, right? So when I'm thinking about, working with a client, maybe they're looking at like cash runway issues, or they're looking to grow and expand in a different market. This is the workflow. And I've honed this throughout my entire career of looking at that vision, strategy, tactics, metrics, milestone, execution, right? That's typically how you get from, that strategy level view all the way down to, like, what are the things that we need to do in the next 30, 60, 90, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 18 months to drive ultimately to this vision, right? That's typically the workflow that I go through in working with clients. It's the same workflow that I use in terms of leading Fresh FP&A, because that's that vision casting you have to do, right? And I think for me, in building a lot of different high growth businesses, that has always been the objective, is like, where are we going? How do we get there? What are the blockers that are going to prevent us getting there? It's really just 3 questions, right? What do we say we're going to do? What do we do? And then what are we going to do about it, right? That typically is kind of like the 3-step questions I always like to ask myself. I like to ask my teammates that we bring on. And in terms of, like, it leads to that first question I talked about earlier, right? When you're thinking about scale of your workforce, right? Like, I always think it's a delicate balance that you need to have, right? For instance, if you're trying, like, one area that I'm just not the best at, and I'll just be honest and vulnerable, is like when it comes to like the business development, when it comes to like that side of the business, like for me to get like 90, 85% confidence in that area, it's going to be a lot more of an effort into that, right? Versus thinking about bringing on an expert that is literally all that they do, right? Like they're experts in business development, they're experts in that. So now I can have like 50 to 60% of that confidence interval. But now if I bring in a person that has 100%, they got the skills, passions, talents, and experience in business development, now I'm able to accelerate to like that 90%, you know? So for me, you got to be able to balance, and you got to complement your team with, you know, strengths that you don't have, right? That's how you build a great team, honestly, right? Is like, I like to bring on people that are way smarter than me in areas that I'm just not smart in, empower them, give them the tools, technology, and resources that they need to be successful, and let them be great at what they want to be great at. I think those are some key takeaways about how to take that strategic level view down to that workforce planning aspect.
That's really awesome, because you see a business from the innovation perspective, efficiency perspective. So you need versatile personalities, different people with the different skill sets and background, where they can contribute so much and act as resources for your organization, right? So appreciating everyone on their strengths is something, a great nature or human nature, more than a strategist or more than a corporate person, is something it's very important for a leader today. That's really great. Yeah, that's
yeah,
really
100%, 100%. Just to add to that, like diversity, if there's one thing for everybody to take away from this meeting and to take away for the rest of your career, take away this advice, right? Your voice, your experience, your skills matters. I don't care what audience that you're in. Everybody has that opportunity to be able to share. And I think for me, like humbly growing up in like the software technology space, being a minority myself, there's very rarely that I come across other, you know, CFOs that are minorities and things around that. So I'm very, very strong believer in that your representation matters, diversity matters at all cross levels. Don't ever let your skills, passions, talents, and experience let that flame be limited by the environment that you're in, because it matters. It's valuable, and it could be the changing point to help somebody in their career. So I think that's a key takeaway I want to leave everybody with as well too.
That's really good. Next person, please.
Hi, sir. And my question for you is, what financial initiatives have you introduced and how they were successful?
So what finance initiative have I used and how were they successful? Oh man, like I could go down a laundry list of finance things, right? I think the number one thing, right, that is top of mind for everybody. So let me just give you like the number one, I think, finance initiative that every high growth business is focused on right now. And you see it in a lot of the macro markets right now: cash burn and cash runway, right? I have a saying that I tell a lot of different CEOs, founders, and business owners that we work with and different prospects I engage with. Profits are a dream, but cash is reality, right? So how you can actually like make an impact to an organization around cash burn. So for those that don't know, cash burn is measuring the cash that you get in your business versus the cash that you get out. If you have a positive cash burn, that means you're taking in more money than what you're spending out. If you have a negative cash burn, that means you're spending more money than you're receiving in, right? That is by far the number one metric that every business needs to be focused on right now, right? The second one is specifically around cash runway, right? So now you're looking at your cash burn. Say you have $10 million in the bank and your cash burn is $1 million a month. That means that you've got 10 months of runway, right? Typically where we like and advise our clients, definitely in the macro recessionary environment that we're in right now, just globally, we want to make sure that we're working and developing that vision, strategy, tactics, metric, milestone, and execution plan for our clients to make sure they have at minimum a 24-month cash runway in their business, right? I think to me that has been like very, very insightful, because a lot of times, you know, people get caught up in the profit and loss and like the income, you know, the cash statement of cash flows. I'm a very simple person, right? Like, what is my bank balance at the beginning of the month and what is it at the end of the month? That is telling me how much cash I have spent. That is real life dollars. So thinking through, like, I think that is probably the #1 financial initiative right now that every high growth business needs to be focused on as we continue to navigate the challenge and uncertainty that we're seeing in a global business environment.
Basically, it's a cost management, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily cost management. I think it's like cash flow optimization.
Cash
Like
flow.
how are you making sure you're optimizing every single dollar in and
Yes.
out of your business? Yep.
Yeah. So spending every cent is to be taken care.
Yeah, you got to have that discipline on it, man. Every dollar, every dollar.
Every dollar is so important. Yes. When you control that, I think everything else can be taken care of.
Yeah, I think, and also it provides a lot of value to the business as well too, right? You're having to dive deep into that business, like how's payroll, what are incentives around, how are we working with our suppliers, how are we looking at our contracts, how are we solutioning in our spend, like it that touches every aspect of the business.
Great. Yeah, thank you. The next question, please.
Hello, sir. Sir, I have one question. What has been the biggest failure in your career to date, and what did you learn from it, sir?
So
I think you're
basically your failure and you're learning from failure. If anything, you have experienced in the past.
Oh, yes, man. One thing I honestly, this may sound like counterintuitive, but another key takeaway for you and your careers as you continue to navigate, wake up every day looking to fail. Let me say that again. I wake up every day and I find ways to fail. Why? Like, why do I do that? Because there's only two options, right? You're either going to win or you're going to learn. There's really no loss in failure if you learn from it. I've taken this from my boxing, right? And to me, like when you seek opportunities to fail, that's been some of the biggest learning, biggest growth personally and professionally I've ever had in my career, right? Failure is not the end. Failure is the first step in that learning process, right? And I could go down the list of failures, both personally and professionally. But I think the biggest failure that I had in my career was making that leap from being like an individual contributor to a people leader, like stepping up. And when you're an individual contributor, like everything's about you, right? Like Chris did an awesome job and Chris did this and Chris did that. You're very like I and me focused, right? When you move to be a people leader and you start to managing a team, you trade out that I and me for we and us. All the wins come through your team. All the wins come through how you're pouring into your team, how you're the first person to take criticism and the last to take congratulations. So looking back over my career is probably one of those biggest failures that I've had, is like when I made that leap, I failed in it. I failed in it because I was so focused on like, how do I get the win? How do I get that appetite of success when all that success is going to come from the people I'm a part of, the people's skills that I help develop, the talents I help groom, the experiences I give people. So, for me, I think that's one of the biggest failures, but I also looked at it as an opportunity. I learned so much from that. And when you live your life in a perspective of like failure, there is no failure. Like my mind isn't built to look at failure or loss at all, because I'm either going to win, I'm going to learn, right? I'm only going to fail and I'm only going to lose if I don't learn from the situation I've been a part of. So when you really develop kind of like that mindset, you cultivate a confidence, you cultivate an experience of like, hey, I know I'm going to be better because of every situation, and you broaden your comfort zone. So I think that would be the mindset that I've had around failure.
Taking it positive and moving towards learning every day.
Every day, man.
We can't win in every race, but we have to still keep moving forward, right? Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, facts. And just the race analogy, it's not a sprint, man. Your career is going to be a marathon, right? You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but you got to think focused, like getting back to what I talked about earlier. Take the vision that you want to have for your life. What are the strategies you want to implement? What are the tactics that you need to do? What are the metrics that you're going to measure win or learning? And what is the milestones you want to achieve it in, man? Like, take that ownership of your career. But if you take it from that growth mindset, man, you're gonna be unstoppable.
Great. That's a great sharing from you, Chris. Yeah. Next
Thank you,
question,
sir.
please.
Hello, sir. My question is, what are the top 2 skills that need to succeed in this role?
Wow, I love this question. Top 2 skills to succeed in this role. So I think like putting on my fractional CFO hat, and I'll put on my CEO hat and tell you the two, right? I think the first 2 top skills for any finance person of the future, you got to be a great communicator, right? Communication is huge, right? Like, that is one of the most, that's like a soft skill. And I don't know about you, when I look back through the CPA exam I took, the undergraduate education I had, my MBA classes, I never took a class that says, hey, how to be a great communicator to the business, right? So communication skills are number 1. Number 2, you have to be a great collaborator inside the business, right? Too many times the finance organizations, particularly CFOs, like, we're not collaborating in the business. We're off in the corner, working our Excels, doing our, US GAAP, our ASC 606, or our IFRS analysis. We're doing all that stuff, right? We got to be great collaborators in the business, right? I think a bonus one that I'll give is a third one. We've got to be able to turn, we got to be able to turn complexity into clarity for the business, right? As an example of that, sometimes, like, if you're looking at, like, tying back to the cash burn, cash runway issues, right? We may go to the CEO or the business owner and saying, hey, I'm looking at your cash burn and we're spitting all this like confusion. And they're just like, look, give me the clarity on it, right? So I think the top 3 skill sets for any finance professional in the future: great communicators, great collaborators, and they turn complexity into clarity for the business, right? That's my top 3 skill sets from a finance CFO perspective. For a CEO perspective, you've got to have like great appetite to handle agility, right? I think for me, I learned this in boxing. One thing that boxing has taught me that's transferred over into like my life and leading my own business is like being able to control my fight or flight response, right? That elevation of fight or that elevation of flight, right? Being able to have like that baseline of like, you're going to have good things in the business, you're going to have bad things, but you got to have that resiliency as a CEO. I think the second thing is you got to be patient. This is a struggle for me. I am not a patient person. I am impatient for results. But I think one thing that I've learned over my course of my experience and even building Fresh FP&A is like, you got to trust the process. Don't rush the process. So I think those are my top 2 skills for that CEO. You got to have great resiliency. You got to be resilient, and you got to have patience in your business. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And then those top 3 skill sets for finance, right? Great communicators, great collaborators, and bring clarity to chaos.
That's a great learning for the students, Krish. Patience is something very, very important. Balancing yourself from the ups and downs part. And the most important thing is building trust among your people.
Facts, man. Facts. Like, trusted relationships are literally everything, right? Let me give you guys another one, right? When you go about building a relationship with that business partner, all right, or building a relationship with anybody, right? To me, relationships are built on 2 core competencies, right? Trust and competency, right? Do I trust this person and are they smart? If you want to build great relationships, don't focus on being the smartest person in the room. Don't focus on being the smartest business person, the smartest Excel person. Don't focus on being the smartest person. Focus on building the trust with that business partner. Focus on that. One key question that you can ask any business partner to get building that trust with them, You ask them this one question: what opportunities, pains, frustrations, challenges that you see in your business, and how can I help you solve those pains, frustrations, or seek out those opportunities? That is a great way of building trust inside the business. And to me, that's a growth hack in that if you carry for your entire career, you'll have a great group of people and a great group of trusted advisors.
That's really fine. Good, great. Grace, next question, please.
Good day, sir.
What's up, man?
I'm Mohammed Mohidin. My question is, what are your top priorities as a CEO?
Yeah. So what are my top priorities as CEO? First one, like I talked about, scaling the business, right? Number one, I'm always thinking about scale. Number two is how am I building a great team of people around me to help guide the business, right? And then the third thing is our impact, right? I've always been an impact-driven person. How are you making a better impact on the clients that we serve, the communities that we serve, the people that we serve? How are we making sure we're utilizing our skills, passions, talents, and experiences to help others realize and achieve greatness? That is the North Star of Fresh FP&A, right? When clients that we work with, or consultants that we work with, or businesses that we work with, prospects that I talk to, referral partners that I bring on, right? That is the North Star. And if you're not focused on utilizing your skills, passions, talents, and experiences to help others realize and achieve greatness, you're not going to work with Fresh FP&A. I don't care if you got a $3 million contract, right? If you're not aligned to those core pillars and those core principles, we're not going to work with you. So I think to me, those in my position in leading a high growth fractional CFO and advisory business, it's about scale, it's about the people, and it's about the impact. Those are the top three objectives that I have as CEO.
That's really awesome. Creating an impact to the society, impact to the stakeholders, right? Adding value to people every day. That's what the meaning of every personal life. That brings satisfaction to us. Yeah. Self-satisfaction.
100%. The biggest ROI that you can get out of life, if you want to be like that, if you want the power, you want the success, you want the money, you want all those things that really don't matter, if I'm being honest, none of that stuff matters. What matters is how are you using your skills, passions, talents, and experience to help somebody else. That is the biggest ROI that you get out of life and you get out of business. Like for me, business and life have always been like one of the same. It's never been like I had a separate business life and a personal life. You know, whatever I can do to help and support and do that. That is what I think we're here as professionals, but more so than anything around that. That's what we're here as people, to help our communities, right? And if you have the opportunity to do that, always take the opportunity to help somebody.
That's really, really awesome, Krish. I'm personally impressed the way you are presenting yourself, and I could see the character of you. Having a humble background and brought up and succeeded well in the career today, and being a good human being is something very rare to find in the corporate world, and you are one such person. I'm really happy talking to you today. I'm really happy. You know,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I'm humbled, man. I think
I must register this to you. Actually, you know, when we feel something, we got to tell that's emotion, and I'm very sure you are an emotional person, and I think you will understand what I really mean.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's like one of the most important things is like in business, right? Is like I've learned this early on in my career, looking back over the last 18 plus years of my career, right? Looking back at it from day one, I always wanted to make sure that I was, doing that. And I was helping out, and I was I think that comes from how I grew up, right? When you grow up poor and you grow up don't having anything, and you find ways to like, I'll give you guys a personal story that really helped me on my entrepreneurship journey. And I want to share this from a personal perspective, right?
Please.
So when I look back, I've got I was 7 years old, right? So, growing up in a single parent background, it was me, my mom, and my sister. My father passed away when I was younger. So I kind of grew up just me, my mom, and my sister, primarily in an African-American Black community, in a low income community, right? this was the turning point of my career and the turning point of my life. My mom set me down when I was 7 years old. So my mother sits me down. I'm at my grandma's house. She's sitting me down. She says, Bunny, that's her nickname for me. Her nickname for me is Bunny. She says, Bunny, you've got the best initials. You've got the best initials in the highest levels that you can ever reach in business. So my initials are CEO. Those are my initials. Christopher Eusebio Ortega, CEO.
Oh.
And my mom set me down and she said that to me. I'll never forget this. She set me down and she says, Bunny, you got the best initials in the world. And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, your initials means that's the highest level that you can ever reach in business. And I went back to her and I said, Mom, that means I could be the fireman of business? She's like, exactly. You could be the fireman of business. And when she said that to me, it triggered something in me. It's like, man, I've got the best initials. And it like, that has spawned me throughout my, growing up. I was always like hustling and finding ways to make money. And like, maybe I can go shovel some snow because I want to get this. And I think for me, we all have that time period in our lives, right? And I think, your personal life and your background, it never defines who you are. It only amplifies who you are and how you can leverage that, how you can use that to your advantage, how you can take, whatever adversity, challenges, difficulties, obstacles that you've overcome. Never forget that is momentum. That's behind you. That's not going to impact you going forward, but you can use that as momentum. So that's something in my life that I always like, I look back and I was like, man, that's where everything changed for me.
I think I've noticed one thing, Krish, most of the successful entrepreneurs or CEOs in the world, they take their mom or dad as their inspiration. And today is another witness here when you are in 7 and you had the dream and that was from your mom. That's really a great, information and witness again for us to take it forward. Yeah.
Definitely.
Parents are the basic inspiring personalities in the world. They touch our heart and soul and they can do anything for our career and life. Yeah.
I would agree 100%, man. 100%.
That's really good. Yeah. Next, please. Next question. Are you okay with the timings, Chris?
I'm good. I don't have another thing until I'm good. I got as long as you guys need. I got another 19 minutes before I have another call.
That's fine. Thank you. Next question, please.
Sir, I hope you have heard about key performance indicators that play a vital role in our business. So how do you measure the success of your business, sir?
Yeah, so KPIs. So I think KPIs are hugely important. One thing that I think a lot of businesses don't do well with KPIs is they try to measure too much, right? They try to measure like 30 different KPIs. And I always sit there and ask, I always challenge at CEOs and founders and business owners that I work with that are looking at 30 different KPIs. I'm like, okay, how can you really improve 30 different things in like 90 days? Like, how do you actually do that? So I think for me, I've always looked at things, I've taken a rule of a hand, right? If I can't measure the business or measure success in 1 to 5 KPIs, 2 things. I don't know the business and I don't know what success looks like, right? So giving you an example, in leading high growth SaaS businesses, looking back over my career, right? I distilled down it to 5 KPIs that measured success of any high growth SaaS business, right? Leads, close one to revenue to cash to net dollar retention rate, right? Like that's really the 5, like how many leads are we getting in? How many is closing it? How's that go to revenue? How's that go to cash? How's that go to net dollar retention rate, right? That is really, to me, I think those 5 KPIs in any high growth SaaS business. And I'm not discounting. There's a whole bunch of other ones, right? Like there's customer lifetime value, there's CAC, you can get really into weed in detail of it. But I think for me, like, and even running Fresh FP&A, right? Like, I don't look at it, our business as like, oh man, this is how many new clients we want to bring on, right? I'm looking at it, how much impact are we making? How much value are we bringing to our clients? And, how much utilization that we have from our people in terms of their work responsibilities and what they're doing. But to me, the real key takeaway is when you're working with the business around KPIs, simplify it. So many different times businesses are looking at these vanity metrics, right? Vanity metrics are like metrics that you look at in the mirror, and it's like, it doesn't really tell you anything, right? Like, it's like, like you want to look at KPIs that draw action, right? I want to look at something that's going to make me either do 3 things: put more gas on it, slow down, or speed up, right? Like, do I stop? Do I slow down? Or do I continue and accelerate, right? So you want to have your KPIs being a way to drive that action, not just about, oh, this is what it said, right? And there's no action from it. So simplify to know the business. Make sure you're measuring those KPIs that matter and drive action, and make sure you have that clarity throughout the business to provide that stakeholder. So to me, that's what I've used throughout my career in leading a lot of different high growth businesses. And that's the same principles that I take away and bring into Fresh FP&A. Great question, by the way. Great question.
That's right. That was a good answer, Krish. What is your advice for the startups today?
Man, startups are, man, it's you know, with the recent news of, I'm pretty sure everybody's aware of what's happening here on stateside with some of these banks, Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, some other institutions that have been affected, right? I think the number one thing for startups, and I tell a lot of like startups right now, you have the luxury, right? You have the luxury to bring in like people that have been there, done that. It is no, like, we have in our portfolio of clients, we have seed level companies all the way to Series A level companies that we work with, right? And I always tell them, bring in that leadership, bring in that experience of people that have grown, you know, organizations from a seed, startup, scale up to enterprise to exits, right? Leverage that experience, bring that in early, right? And this is the value proposition for, I think, fractional resources, right? You can bring in a fractional CMO, you can bring in a fractional CRO, you can bring in a fractional CFO, right? Let us help build, shape, transform, and scale your organization at the very start. That way, when you get to that Series B or you get to that C and you continue to mature in your business and you continue to grow, you've already built the solid foundations around the core areas of your business. So I think that's number one, is leveraging skills, leverage the experience of people that have been there. I think also the second thing for startups is you got to measure like the accuracy, precision, right? There's really no, like, I advise a lot of our businesses to like, what's the purpose of doing an 18-month forecast right now? There is so much uncertainty in the world, so much uncertainty in business, that you really want to focus that precision, that 95% confidence level in the next 3 to 6 months. Like, that's where we really want to be anchored. We want to be 90%, 95% confident in the plans, in the forecast, in the recommendations that we're advising our clients on in that 3 to 6 month window. So you know, startups and businesses overall, they're still having to navigate a lot of uncertainty right now. So to me, you got to be flexible. You've got to balance that precision and accuracy, and you got to make sure you're guiding the business and you're thinking about, you know, balancing the short-term and long-term perspectives.
Yeah. It's not just a mere CEO, you are a successful entrepreneur. So that will give them, the students, great insights, those who wanted to open a business in future.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? So that's the reason I put this question to you, Chris. Yeah. And again, you know, the answer is really, really simple, and they can practice in their day-to-day.
Awesome.
Any next questions?
Sir, I have another one question, sir. Sir, how do you take care of your mental health, sir? Because nowadays, most of the youngers don't know take care of their mental health, sir. So how do you take care of your mental health?
Man, honestly, I think this is a very important question. Very important question. I see a lot of good friends of mine. They're successful, you know, leaders, and mental health is very important, right? I think this is like the holistic side of a person, right? There's the physical side, their emotional side, the mental side, the spiritual side. You have all these different pieces of it, and leading a business, right? Like, a lot of, you know, good friends of mine, a lot of my mentors, they tell me, they're like, Chris, you've got to make sure you don't burn yourself out, right? one of the greatest skill sets that I think I have is like, I have tremendous passion for what I do. If you guys can't tell that right now, right? I've got tremendous passion for what I do, but I also realize my passion, my flame, and my excitement, it can burn me out, right? And I've got to take those moments to disconnect. I've got to take those moments with my team to give them their space. Mental health is really, really important. And how I focus on that, I think fitness is a great outlet for me. I work out at least twice a day. On a weekly basis, I probably work out close to 20 hours a week, right? Over multiple workouts. I probably do like 10 to 12 workouts a week. That really helps me, mentally be focused on it. I make sure to spend time with my loved ones and my family, right? I make sure I spend time with my community, and I take those times to completely disconnect, right? I think a lot of CEOs, right, they feel like they can't ever disconnect. I can't ever pick up the phone, or I can't answer a text, or I can't be on an email. There's times where I spend and I'm like, I'm not answering any of this stuff. Like, I'm taking it off unless it's like really urgent, like critical. Like, I always tell my team this. I'm like, nothing that we're doing in finance, we're not performing open heart surgery. We're not doing brain surgery. We're not, nobody's lives are going to be on the line if we miss a forecast. Like, it's fine. Like, so I think taking that time to realize, like, you've got to take that space, give people their space. You got to find those positive outlets to relieve that stress. And I think another one, it's okay to say you're not okay, right? I think a lot of CEOs and a lot of business leaders have this like armor that we feel like we always have to carry. Like, we can't ever show that we're vulnerable. We can't ever show that, we've got to be like we got to have every answer and we got to have all this. I tell my team all the time, if I don't know something, I'm going to be like, look, I don't know that, but I can go figure it out. Or if I'm struggling, I'm saying, look, I'm raising my hand and I'm struggling, right? So I think there's power in humility. And I think there's power in being vulnerable and being your most authentic self, right? And taking that time for yourself, taking that time for others, and making sure you're finding that space to disconnect. Those are the ways that I really focus on making sure that I balance my mental health.
That's really good. I think the time is running out. The last question, if you want to have anyone, please. Because Krish has another call in another 7-8 minutes, I guess. I think he has to be ready for that.
So could you please tell us a path to become a CEO?
The path to become CEO, every path is different, man. I mean, my path came from the finance organization. It came by taking the leap of faith. It came from, when I was 7 years old. My path started early. I didn't know I was being, going to be a CEO. I've always had that as a dream. So I don't think I wouldn't be able to give you like a prescribed path. But the thing about it is, man, is like, I want to leave y'all with this, right? And I'm going to leave y'all with something to carry for the rest of your life. Like, carry this question, right? Always think about this. Always think about this. Check in different points of your life, different points in time of your career to think about this. What is my legacy? Don't care about titles. Don't care about power. Like, what is the legacy that I'm building to leave right now? What is that legacy going to be 5, 10, 15 years from what I'm doing right now, right? I never focused on like how much money I wanted to make and how much power I want to get, what titles I want. I never focused on that, right? I always focused on what is going to be my legacy, right? When I leave this earth and I leave this business or whatever that looks like, right? What is going to be said and what is going to echo throughout time, and how am I doing that, right? So whether your path is to be a CEO or maybe your path is not to be, right? Because not everybody wants to be a CEO. Not everybody wants to, do that. And it's totally fine. But make sure you're walking in your truth. Make sure you're doing everything you can to help other people, and focus on what matters. Focus on what makes an impact. There's 3 things. Focus on impact over income. Focus on purpose over praise. Focus people over profits. That's literally it, man. You focus on those things and you go chase those, you're going to have a fulfilled life and you're going to make an impact in this world. And if you want to be CEO, you can be CEO. If you don't, at the end of the day, you'll still make an impact. And just know, like, you're the CEO of your own career. right? Take ownership of your career, take ownership of your opportunities. I think that's why you guys started this business program. Take ownership, be the CEO of your life.
That's a great answer, Chris. I can say, as the last you said, people and profit, all those things, everybody can tell. But one thing, leaving a legacy behind you matters everything.
Yeah, man. You got to do that,
That is what
man.
going to satisfy your soul, heart and soul.
Exactly.
That's a really great opportunity for our students. I think I should make them stop here. I think you are getting your time running out, and maybe a few lines of gratitude. Anyone wanted to share here to Krish?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please proceed.
So the deepest craving of human nature is showing gratitude. I would like to thank our Honorable Chief Guest for his valuable presence, who enlightened us through your words, and we really got a golden session with you to nurture in each step as the budding students who aspire to be executives in future. I would promise and ensure that we will take responsibilities in the ownership so that we can delegate all our authority to be a future executive, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you all. And listen, if there's anything I can do to help or support you guys in your efforts, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Chris, we'll connect with you again.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. Shoot me a message. If you want to learn more about
one request I have for you. So we would like to have you as our innovation and entrepreneurship development cell advisor. We would like to have you so that you can give time to time some inputs, how we can develop our students, not only this batch, future students as well, some continuous support for us, as you can also, can be an advisor. You can put yourself as an advisor for a business education provider in India. So we'll be so much grateful to you. We want to work with you. Sometimes we'll meet up in US, or you come to India, we can meet up in India. That will be a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, definitely, man. Reach out, send me the information on it. Happy to help and look through it. And yeah, like I was saying to everybody, like if any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message, check out my website.
Yeah, we can email you further. When you are leisure, when you are free, you can respond to us and we can get some support from you, because management, Master of Business Administration, MBA without corporate connectivity and people like you without interfering, it's meaningless, I would say.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Krish. Have a great day today. And it's Thursday morning. I think you are there today, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Thursday. About to got a tough day going on, but thank you guys to everybody. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Keep pushing, never settle, and be great. And always keep it fresh. Keep it fresh, guys.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your giving valuable time and thoughts out. Some advice for us, sir.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye, Chris. Yeah.